The year 2000 was arguably in total the greatest year for WWE pay-per-views in company history. The list of memorable moments and stories runs unfathomably deep. Cactus Jack's bloodbath with Triple H, Stone Cold's return at Backlash, Shane's plummet at SummerSlam, the birth of TLC matches, Kurt Angle's ascension to the top of the card, six-man Hell in a Cell. Ironically, the only really fully bad pay-per-view WWF produced that year was WrestleMania itself. Between being overbooked with too many multi-person matches and overemphasizing the McMahons in the main event, it was the busiest show in the goddamn world. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 fascinating facts about WrestleMania 2000. Number 10, Vince couldn't get the rights to California Love. That sounds like Vince's misadventures in an LA-based porno, and I'll bet you everything I have that footage exists. Anyway, WrestleMania 2000 emanated from Anaheim, California, and Vince sought the use of a pretty recognizable song for the occasion, Tupac Shakur's California Love, which is actually Jack's favorite song. He sings it to himself every day at work, changing lyrics to Jack the Jobber knows how to party, mouthful of Skittles, and writing nice little notes to all his friends. However, Tupac's estate refused to license the song to the WWF for reasons not entirely clear. In response, the company's music guru Jim Johnston produced an in-house knockoff of California Love simply titled California, which ironically we can't play you because of rights issues. Number 9, it marked the only time VISCERA ever won a belt on TV. The Hardcore Championship match was a total clusterfuck. A championship scramble with a 15-minute time limit and no rules. The second title change of the match occurred 1 minute in, with the monstrous Viscera pinning Taz with a slam on the outside. Not counting the 1995 King of the Ring, Viscera only held 2 championships in the company, this 7-minute hardcore title reign and a 2-day run with the Tag Team Championships in 1994 as part of Men on a Mission. His and Mo's title win and loss both took place on a post-WrestleMania 10 tour of England, and neither result was filmed. For a man whose WWE run spanned 15 years and given his immensity, you'd think he would have won more belts than just these. Number 8, Tim White was reamed out for the MISCUE in the Hardcore title match. The planned finish for the Hardcore Battle Royal nonsense fight was for Crash Holly to escape with the belt by the skin of his teeth. He would be covered by his cousin Hardcore Holly in the waning seconds, with referee Tim White rendering a 2 count just as the 15 minutes were up. According to Holly, White was being counted down in his earpiece by someone backstage, but something went awry, because Hart stops counting with a full second left and noticeably before the buzzer. Hastily improvising, a confused Howard Finkel announced that Hardcore Holly had won the match and the belt. Holly later revealed that White was yelled at by several agents and Vince McMahon himself for the snafu. Number 7, all tag and Eurocontinental match participants were making their WrestleMania debuts. Want to know why the year 2000 was so damn good for the WWF? Look no further than the depth of their mid-card. Before the dawn of the new millennium, none of the following men had ever worked a match at WrestleMania: Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, Edge, Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudley Boys. With the exception of Devon Dudley, all were future world champions in the business. Oh, sorry, Devon. At the time of WrestleMania 15, a year earlier, Edge and Christian were mid-card lackeys of Undertaker's ministry, while the Hardys were undercarders in awful attire. The Dudleys were still terrorizing ECW, and Benoit and Jericho were each looking for the first chance to escape from WCW's prison system. The Olympic gold medalist, and my personal favorite, Kurt Angle, was still being trained. What a collection of talent. Number 6, Terry versus the Cat was the only singles match of the night. It's an off-cited fact about WrestleMania 2000, but it's one that deserves repeating. Basically, the whole show felt like it was designed by Teddy Long and sent back in time Terminator style, because we're talking tag team matches, player. 3 normal tag matches, a 6-man tag, a triple threat tag team ladder match, and a bugger ton of multi-mans, the 10-man plus Hardcore Battle Royal, the Eurocontinental triple threat, and a fatal 4-way main. To make matters more bizarre, the match with Terry and Cat, the only single match on the card, was one that could end when one participant simply threw the other out of the ring. Therefore, as it stands, there were no traditional one-on-one single matches at Mania 2000, which is Vince McMental. Number 5, the IC title changed hands for the first time in 8 years. After Bret Hart outsmarted Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8 to earn his second Intercontinental Championship, there would be a hefty drought of IC title changes on the big stage. It wasn't until Benoit pinned Chris Jericho in the 2-fall Eurocontinental title match to win Kurt Angle's IC title that the workhorse belt would swap wastes at Mania. The lull between those changes began in 1993 when Shawn Michaels took a count-out loss to keep his belt. Razor Ramon successfully defended it in 1994's historic ladder match. Jeff Jarrett kept his on a DQ in 1995. Goldust did not defend his at WrestleMania 12 in 1996. The Rock successfully defended it in 2 straight years in 1997 and 1998, and Road Dogg survived a 4-way match in 1999 to retain the belt too. Number 4, X-Pac claims he turned down a marquee match with Chris Jericho. X-Pac ended up wrestling in a semi-main event, losing a short tag match with Road Dogg to Kane and Rikishi. While all 4 men were established in the upper mid-card at the time, it wasn't a particularly memorable match aside from Rikishi doling out 3 stink faces, including one to Pete Rose's poor stinky baseball man. In an interview years later with Jim Ross, X-Pac claimed it was proposed to him that he wrestle Chris Jericho for the Intercontinental title at at Mania. In a move that he would later rue, he turned it down, wanting to instead finish off his feud with Kane, which he now concedes was completely out of steam. Number 3. Chris Jericho was replaced in the main event by Mick Foley. And speaking of Jericho's plans being changed, the main event for WrestleMania 2000 was seemingly rewritten on a weekly basis. What seemed like a slam dunk opportunity to have The Rock triumph over Triple H for the WWF Championship morphed into a triple threat with Big Show involved. In a scant 2 weeks before the pay-per-view, recently retired Mick Foley was added to the match. Chris Jericho has shared the story that originally he was planned for the match, citing the presence of his face in the promo materials. Foley goes on to note, however, that Vince didn't want him to end his career without main eventing Mania, hence the hasty insertion of the hardcore legend. Number 2, Mick Foley was having philosophical differences with The Rock. In a later printing of Foley's bestseller Have a Nice Day, details of Foley's WrestleMania 2000 appearance are inserted as a bonus chapter. The legendary brawler detailed a sense of melancholy that plagued him in the days before the event, and curiously notes he told his wife Colette, "Don't be surprised if the match sucks and I don't sell a lot," making reference to one of 3 opponents that he wasn't seeing eye to eye with. It's believed that Foley is referring to The Rock, who he would note in his follow-up book, Foley is Good, that he patched things up with in 2001. Foley had apparently been harboring some resentments towards The Rock for some time, maybe because of those 10 unprotected chair shots to the head a year earlier. Who knows? But it would be some time before the Rock and Sock connection were back together. And number 1, Triple H is the only performer that wrestled at both Anaheim WrestleManias. This just goes to show how much the WWE roster can change in a short time. The Anaheim Manias 12 and 16 were only 4 years apart, but the only man to work both shows was Triple Hurst Hunter H. Helmsley. Counting the pre-show, there were only 4 other wrestlers at WrestleMania 12 that were still active performers come the time of WrestleMania 2000: Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Phineas Godwin aka Midian, and Davey Boy Smith. Austin and Undertaker were both notably injured at the time, as was Midian, who was once rumoured to be in the Hardcore Battle Royal. Bulldog was still under contract, but essentially on the outs with the company. So yes, Triple H loses in 90 seconds in 1996, then wins a 36-minute main event to retain the WWF Championship 4 years later. Wrestling is weird. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here, and you can follow Justin Henry, the guy who writes these articles, on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.